Hello.
Yeah, hello. What's this called? The Play to Win Podcast?
Play to Win Podcast. That's what we've been calling it, yeah.
This whole time?
This whole time.
And then I need Crim. That's what it is. A couple cards on our mind. Maybe a story or two from the tournament this weekend.
Oh, yeah. You think I should go round by round, or should I just do a brief overview? The reason why I don't want to make the decision is I don't want to last minute come in and change your direction path of the podcast.
Because you know that makes me anxious.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm putting you in the spot right now, which is also making you anxious. I just don't want to.
I'm actually doing pretty good about it right now.
We're going to wing it. We'll fucking do it live.
So we can wing it. I'm trying to be a better podcast host and like be a little bit more go with the flow and like not get so anxious.
If you try to do that, I will try to stop interrupting you as much, because that's something that I need to work on a lot.
Oh, that's something I need to work on too. I can't have two things on top of your one. Now, God damn it.
Okay. Ready?
Let's do this.
You ever watch the Jack Shepherd thing?
Who's Jack Shepherd?
Isn't his name Dax Shepherd, maybe?
That's...
He does that
Courtney
at the beginning.
Loves Armchair Expert.
I feel like I got that. This podcast is brought to you by. I feel like I accidentally picked that up from him. I think he says something like that.
Every single ad that they do. This episode is brought to you by Winter Green.
Fucking underwear or something.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Wait, I didn't say I was ready. I'm not ready.
Tell me when.
Okay. Welcome to the Play to Win Podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I just realized that it's not the right info bars up here.
I hit record, and it still says record on it. Yeah.
Do I just go from mine? I'm Dylan here?
Might as well.
Line. And I'm Dylan. This week we are talking about a couple of cards, some hodgepodgey things. We have a question from a patron. Maybe we'll bring up a tournament. Who knows? We're just gonna see where it goes.
It's a podcast, right? We're gonna let it flow.
We're gonna talk about whatever the hell we want.
Except for this part where we talk about something that a patron wants us to talk about.
Yeah, who has granted us a topic?
It was not Kareth, which is not confusing at all. But not Kareth had a question. They said, do y'all think ED... Let me start this over.
From the top.
Already my brain is fried. I read 4 words and that was too many.
I can't wait for that episode of Shuffle Up and Play where I tried to read a card and I just couldn't do it like 5 times in a row. I'm like, don't put me on the spot like this. I don't know how to read so good.
That's so funny. All right, so not Kareth's question is, do y'all think cEDH will ever have a solved meta, meaning the top 5 to 10 decks are solidified as near permanent mainstays, and are we currently in it? And if so, aside from bans, what would realistically need to happen to shake things up and have other deck lists usurp these top lists?
Yes and no. I would say pretty confidently that there are 5 decks that I would consider to be mainstays tier 1 decks in cEDH that are pretty consistent. And by that I mean they're not going to win every tournament, but there'll probably be some number of these decks in every top 16 of every tournament, right? Blue Farm, Rogthras, Rogsai, Kinnan, and maybe like Sisay or something.
I think the caveat is right now in 2026.
Right, yeah. It's a singleton format and there's a lot of brewers and a ton of brewers advantage. So all of that can change, and I don't think the meta is like solved in like you can only play those 5 decks. There's a ton of other decks that you can play and get good results if you know your deck inside and out. But I would say that we know what's good. We know what decks are good. We know what cards are good. That part's pretty solved, right?
Yeah, I have an idea as to what like tier 1, tier 1.5, tier 2, and tier F is.
Right, yeah.
After that, yeah.
I wouldn't say solved though, because number 2 also, because I feel like I've already said at least 1 point. Number 2 would be there's new sets every 3 months.
Well, that's
the
other thing. Yeah,
it's always
less than that even now.
Right. It would be solved if like they stopped printing sets, and then maybe it would get solved. And even then, like, aren't there like formats like pre-modern where like people are still making changes to the format even though the format doesn't actually change at all?
Well, we've been playing a lot of VGC. I think VGC is like kind of the perfect comparison to this, where
Pokemon,
even though you will have the same format for 3 months, people will figure out what metas are and how they're training their Pokemon on their team in general. So people will naturally find counters to what people are normally doing. And eventually what the counter meta is what becomes meta.
Right.
And so even within a stale environment where we're not getting any new cards or any new Pokemon to play with, whatever our game is, the metagame is always going to change, even if there's nothing getting added to it.
I think the only reason that wouldn't change would be because something was so inherently broken that one thing was without a doubt the best thing to do. As long as there are a few things that could be considered the best thing to do, the meta is always going to shift a little bit, because once the turbo decks get really good, then the Risk utility decks put them in their place, or whatever the case may be. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right,
once rock gets good, then paper gets good. And once paper gets good, because it beats rock, then scissors gets good. And
we talked about a lot of that last week, too.
Yeah, I think that is still the case in cEDH. There's not one definitive thing that is the best to do. You could argue that, like, Blue Farm is the best deck, but realistically, Blue Farm is just, like, the most played deck. I don't even know that it's actually the best.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I don't think that it's solved completely, but I do think that it is, we know it's good.
It's temporarily solved here and there.
Right.
Like, it's solved in the sense that, okay, we know what's good. Again,
right.
that's all that we're really trying to say. But, like, it's also not to say that these 5 decks that we say are the best in the format right now are going to remain that way come 2027, because we don't know what other cards we're going to be getting.
One day we're going to get another Underworld Breach that's in a different color that's just as powerful, and then the whole fucking thing is going to shift. You know what I mean? Like, it'll change eventually.
Or maybe something will get banned. Maybe there's like a rule in Commander. Wizards owns Commander now, and I feel like maybe they'll try to get a little bit more experimental with it, and they'll say, you can...
Realistically, like, we don't have to get on a ban talk right now, but, like, there's not much that they could ban that would actually change the entire format from the ground up. It would make shifts, but, like, besides, like, Breach and Rhystic Study...
And even then, I don't think that would change much.
And even if you banned Rhystic Study, the same decks are still going to be good. There's other draw engines that will be good, and they'll use them. It won't change it that much.
Ad Nauseam and Necropotence were strong strategies in cEDH before Thassa's Oracle and Underworld Breach existed.
Even if you ban Breach, like, there's still, like, Yawgmoth's Will just gets better, and, like, it's fine. Like,
So we still are going to play Mnemonic Betrayal more. Maybe we'll lean on Wheel of Fortune, Mnemonic Betrayal, and with a Smothering Tithe and play or something.
So, like, because it's a singleton format, there's really not any bans. I don't think that, like, obviously, ban Rhystic Study would be a huge change. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but, like, I would think for the most part, the same decks would still be good. It wouldn't make any other decks better. You know what I mean? Like, it would roughly be the same. Maybe slightly more turbo decks pop up or whatever, but I don't think there's any one ban besides, like, if you ban a commander, if you ban a partner, if you ban Rograk, if you ban Kinnan,
or just partners in general. Right, then it would be a weird shift. But that wouldn't work either.
We've gone on a whole different tangent here, which was not the question. That is the meta solved? Kinda.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of. It kind of is.
Kind of is, kind of isn't. Good answer.
So we had our tournament this past weekend.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. We should talk a little bit about how that went, because I thought it was pretty interesting for 50% of the people that are on the podcast right now.
I got top 16.
That's awesome. That's freaking sweet. You were on Rockside this whole weekend,
I was on Rockside, I felt great the whole weekend. I think I maybe mulliganed a couple times. I mulliganed a little bit too aggressively. Yeah. There was a couple of turn 2 Necropotences. There was specifically one where I was a mulligan to 5, last seat, and it was a turn 2 Necro Dominance, and I shipped it. I went to 3 instead. Maybe I should have kept that, but realistically, I'm trying so hard with this deck to present like a turn 2 win. That's the goal. Yeah. And for me, a turn 2 Necro Dominance is not a win. You have, unless you have 2 mana up afterwards. I want the turn 1 Necro Dominance. So I mulligan, and I did kind of get rewarded in that game. I went to 3, and I found land, Demonic Consultation, Lion's Eye Diamond.
Oh, wow.
Which is a turn 1 Necropotence. I played the land, cast the Lion's Eye Diamond, Demonic Consultation, whole priority to crack the Lion's Eye Diamond, and then I named Necropotence, and it was in the top 6 cards, and next to my whole library, and killed myself on turn 1. so that game kind of sucked.
Is that the game that then your opposing Rogside player also cast Demonic Consultation and named Lotus Petal, and then also was the 6th card of their library?
Yeah. They could have named Lion's Eye Diamond, and they named Lotus Petal. Both would have worked. Both won in the game. They just like named Lotus Petal because it was kind of the same to them. They just would have kept their cards in their hand or whatever. And of course, Lotus Petal was in the top 6 cards of the library, and they killed themselves too. And Raga Draga won that game. The fucking Gruul deck. He was like, "How do I beat 2 Rockside decks?"
Funny,
this is how you beat them when they kill themselves.
Raga Draga actually top 16 the tournament too, and that was a huge part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Rockside players
I would
both killed
imagine.
themselves.
Although I didn't actually look at Raga Draga's results.
It was awesome, dude. The deck was pretty sweet. It was basically just like mono green stompy. Like it was a weird mono green stompy. It was playing find 2 cards and put them into play. You entwine the card. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes I do.
Like casual.
Whoever gets it first wins.
It's not Primal Surge because that's reveal. It's Tooth and Nail. Tooth and Nail.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's Tooth and Nail. I win. They basically did that the turn after Roxai killed themselves, basically. So it was like turn 3 or maybe turn 4. It was very early on. They just cast that and they were able to defeat the last player because the last player was a Dargo Jund player who got Mind Break trapped by the other Roxai player.
Gross.
So like we were all basically out of it, and Raga Draga was like, "I'm still here, so I'll win."
I know there was a long shot deck that also top 16. Yeah,
long shot top Ford.
Top Ford. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't give it enough credit.
I didn't really understand. Long shot is. Do you think we remember this card?
I actually do.
You know it? Okay,
it's 3 in a red for a 2/3 with reach, and it gives your non-creature spells the ability to be cost for 1 generic less.
Said perfectly.
Yep, that's exactly how it says on the card. And then it also says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, each opponent is dealt 2 damage by long shot.
So it's like Gutter Snipe. Is that the name of the card?
It's both Gutter Snipe and
Ral?
like a Ral for you, which is actually kind of nutty. And with a Helm of Awakening in play, there's so much shit that's just free at that point.
I was having a hard time understanding why would that be better than Ral, a deck that is already pretty good and half as much mana, and you get to put blue cards in. But Ral didn't make the top 4, and this deck did. So what the fuck do I know?
So what the fuck? Yeah, I think maybe it's just because like people estimate Ral and people won't estimate
the Longhorn.
Long shot, correctly.
Long shot. That's what it is. Did we say Longhorn in the beginning, or did I just hear
I've
that?
been
You said it
saying
right.
Long shot.
You said it right. Okay, I believe you.
You really want him to be longhorned, though.
I guess so. I want him to be like a bull of sorts.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Yeah. But the rest of the tournament went pretty good. I wrote a tournament recap. I don't have to go over all the details. My game 1 start the day, I won on turn 2 off of a pretty easy I end step mystical tutored or something for culling the week and cast ad nauseum and won the game pretty easily.
That's
against,
awesome.
Like 2 blue decks that had mulligans 4 and 5, and they just hadn't had anything in Luma, so I didn't have to pay attention to that, which was good. So that was a good one. I killed myself in game 3.
Can you phrase that differently? I'm sorry.
I made game actions so that I lost the game on the spot. I don't know how
say
else
it
to
the
word
first
it.
way again.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. No, I shouldn't have said that. I don't know how to phrase it otherwise. How do you say it quickly? I made actions to lose the game on my own accord.
Take myself out of the game.
I took myself out of the game on turn 3, on game 3. In my game 2, I had a very similar situation happen where I basically did the same thing where I demonic consultations to name necropotents or something like that, except I didn't exile my entire library. I just exiled all of my win cons. I didn't have anywhere else to go. But what I was able to do, I found the necro, so I put it to play and I was able to draw a lot of cards, and I told the table, I'm so sorry to do this. I'm playing for a draw right now. I'm going to stop all of your wins unless anyone wants to draw. And we were able to
a whole bunch of interaction.
And I told them I have only interaction in my hand. I don't think any of you can win. I'm just going to try to keep stopping you from winning. Basically, we got to a point where the Kark Sakashima player, the only option that they had left was to copy enchantment my necro. And I said, if you do this, I'm just going to bounce my necropotents and you're not going to be able to do anything. And then we're going to lose to one of the other players. And he said, okay, what if I also don't go for a win? What if I also fight for a draw? And I said, you swear we're doing for a draw only? And he said, yes, only draw. I'm just going to look for interaction. I said, okay, sure, you have the necropotents. And at the time, the Celeste player goes, what the fuck do we do? How do we beat 2 players who are full of blue spells? Because it had already gotten to turn 4 or 5.
Yeah.
The time player, you could think maybe the time player would still be able to do something. But between the 2 of us, at one point at the end of the game, we had 4 removal spells as well as deflecting swat.
That's so gross. And that deflecting swat is infinite in Kark Sakashima's hand too, basically.
The deflecting swat was in my hand, but still, it was.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, even with their Sylvan Safekeeper, they weren't going to be able to protect through basically 5 pieces of interaction, so they couldn't win the game either. So we were basically able to force the game into a draw, which was great. I felt really good about that because I had no way to win that game anymore besides Ragavan hitting. I had Ragavan still in my deck. I could hit a win con off of that. But
I don't want to have to play for that out. Yeah, this
exactly.
is a much better out to get yourself a point.
Right. Round 4, rather, I played against Nate, actually. It was me, Nate, and then 2 other Rockside players, which was really...
That's a nightmare for Nate. Oh my God.
But I was on seat 1, which was really good. I mulliganed to 4, and I mulliganed for a turn 1 Rhystic Study. So who cares about a 4 turn 1 Rhystic Study in the play? That's really good. Although it kind of got nightmare-y very soon after that, because Nate goes to just like a turn 1 Bloom Tender, other Rockside player plays Mystic Gamora, other Rockside plays Mystic Gamora, and I get to my turn. I've drawn a couple cards, but there's draw engines in play. So I go, okay. So I develop a little bit more mana. I pass the turn again. Nate was able to get Orcish Bowmaster in play.
Okay.
And then also gets Ranger Captain in play too. So I go, how the fuck do I beat Orcish Bowmaster and Ranger Captain?
Some of the 2 best things that he needs to stop these 3 Rockside players. They need Ad Nauseam or Necro, and then they put themselves really precarious to the Orcish Bowmaster, and they can't really wheel into these as their other gas spells.
Especially because we all have draw engines. So anytime one of us goes, we feed the other fish, which means there's Bowmaster, which comes at us, right?
Oh,
so we have to go through. I'll go around. The fish sticks around for 2 turns. The other fish gets sacrificed, but a Rhystic Study replaces it. I get to my turn, and the situation is this. I'm looking at over here, Ranger Captain of Eos, Fairy Mastermind, Orcish Bowmaster from Nate's side of the field, but he's tapped out, except for his 1 white mana. He has 1 mana up that he eventually casts Swords to Plowshares in my end step. So he has 1 mana up, but he gets tapped out on it pretty quickly. By the way he's playing, I'm pretty confident he doesn't have other interaction in his hand.
Yeah.
He does have the Fairy Mastermind. The other Rockside player has a Mystic Gamora in play and a little bit of mana up, but not a ton. Other Rockside player here has Rhystic Study and 2 mana up. So I Sorcery Speed a Valley Flood Caller just because I don't want to go to discard, and then I go to my end step. And Nate uses his mana and Swords to Plowshares my Rograk that I just recast because it had already been Bowmaster dead. So it was a 2 mana Rograk that I had cast.
Oh, okay. Not the Flood Caller.
Not the Flood Caller, because he was hoping that the Orcish Bowmaster would be able to stop the Flood Caller.
Oh, if he had a chance. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because anytime we fill, we just kill the Bowmaster or whatever.
Yeah, and then that way Rograk just goes away super easily.
I theoretically gain less life this way.
You cast one.
I would gain less life.
You cast 1 spell, one of the 3 draw engines trigger. Then okay.
And I do have the prowess trigger on my guy, which does help a little bit because I get to dodge like one thing because my Valley Flood Caller has a prowess trigger, which like it doesn't stop the Bowmaster sent at it, but it stops like the next Bowmaster.
Yeah, I get that.
Either
Okay.
way, he swords my Rograk in my end step, and I go, oh fuck, Nate. Now I have to push now because the game has gone too far. The other Rockside players have drawn too much. You're about to untap when you have the Ranger Captain. Like this is a bad spot.
Yeah.
So I have to push now, basically. But I know that the Ranger Captain is in play, and I also know that Final Fortune is in my hand as the way to win the game. I don't have much else besides that. I have a Final Fortune and Demonic Consultation in my hand. So this is the third game in a row. I'm like, Demonic Consultation, I swear to God, if you fucking let me down right now. It was a super confusing board state, but basically the end result was I have the Valley Flood Caller. I cast a Dark Ritual to try to get the table that like something's happening. I kind of want Nate to pop the Ranger Captain early. He doesn't do it. I cast a Gitaxian Probe because I'm still at flash speed to look at the one Rockside player's hand with the Heuristic Study. He's drawn a bunch of cards. I see Pact of Negation, Red Blast. In my hand, I have my own Pact of Negation, a Mental Misstep, and a Mindbreak Trap. So I know, okay, I can beat you.
Boom.
The other Rockside player is kind of eluding. It seems that he doesn't have a ton either, but I think with my Heuristic Study, if he does have one more thing, maybe I can find something else. Eventually, my Valley Flood Caller is going to die. In response to it dying, I Culling the Weak to sacrifice it as well, and then I Otawara to try to pop the Ranger Captain, bounce the Ranger Captain, and in response, he goes, okay, I guess I will pop the Ranger Captain right now, as you must do, because we're in my end step, and he's asking, are you going for a win? And I go, I don't know. I don't know. What? I'm just trying to make stuff happen at this point because I need stuff to move around so I have a chance. We get to a point where, with the Ranger Captain on the spot, cast the Final Fortune, and the Rockside player lets it go. He has the Pact of Negation in his hand, but he would have to tap out completely on his turn and decides to get, I don't know if a little greedy is the right word, but just like doesn't want to waste his whole next turn stopping my Final Fortune if I could still whiff at that point. So the Final Fortune resolves, then I cast Demonic Consultation. Demonic Consultation resolves, and I find Underworld Breach. Take the extra turn, the Ranger Captain's been popped. I was able to get to a situation where because of everyone else is casting a couple spells, I have my own Heuristic Study, I draw a couple cards, was able to resolve the Underworld Breach, and through a series of weirdo things, I send my Chain of Vapor at the Heuristic Study, he sends a Chain of Vapor back at my Underworld Breach.
Okay.
I have the Valley Flood Caller, so I cast a Dark Ritual from my graveyard to recast Valley Flood Caller from my graveyard with the Underworld Breach there. Get through this whole fucking insane stack. They're trying to ask for a draw. I say, I don't think I want to draw here. I think I can still push. It felt like an impossible situation to win the game from, but at the end of it, I was able to win the game. I stuck the Underworld Breach. Another player used their Chain of Vapor as well to try to stop my Underworld Breach, which actually ended up kind of helping me because I was able to bounce my own rocks, like my Mox Opal and my Mana Vault, and then I don't know if it helped me. It just like, it didn't matter because I was able to just replay the Underworld Breach again after it got bounced. Then I went through a breach line and won the game, but it felt like a game that I was like never going to win with like Ranger Captain, Mystic Remora, Heuristic Study, the Very Mastermind, the Orcish Bowmaster, through all of it, and I was able to still find a win. So it was like that game, it cemented to me that like Rockside is fucking good. It's just
like,
so powerful.
I think as long as you just have like enough cards, like you're going to be able to beat like any scenario that you come to
just
because you have instant speed. Like I think that's the really important thing that you're able to do is like no matter what you're able to do, you're able to follow it up with something else and something else on top of it, something else on top of that. Okay, yeah, you can bounce my Underworld Breach, but like I'm still able to play it again and just keep pushing because like I had the opportunity to draw all of the cards that I drew. I still have other card advantage engines in play that as you're interacting with me, I'm able to draw even more cards then too. So like you can kind of get yourself into these spots where as long as you get your timing correct and can kind of goad your opponents into using their interaction when you need them to so that you can time your interaction perfectly, you can really set yourself up for these gnarly wins that feel so smart because you had to be so smart to set that up.
Yeah, I think you just have to trust the deck too. Like the deck can win through anything. Just keep on pushing. I think I very well could have lost that game if I decided to back off a little bit and say, maybe I'll just pass a turn here. I won't go for a win. I'll try to make other people do something. Like that would have lost me the game right away, but just like pushing for the win, it gave me an opportunity to win where there otherwise wouldn't have been. So yeah, deck is great. And then at that point in the tournament, after 4 rounds, I'm 2 wins, a loss, and a draw, which means that if I draw again, I can go to top 16. And then in top 16, I'm C2 after another Rockside player who was running hot that day. He had won 3 games, so he was already like playing really well, and he just went before me and he won before I got a chance. There's more stuff that happened, but like that's what happened.
Yeah, it was still sweet. At least the Rockside deck still won that.
I'm happy to lose to this. This is totally fine. They had a ton of mana, Wishclaw Talisman to start things off. There was even like a Tax Collector, which makes things cost 1 more mana, but it didn't matter. They were able to still fire off and ad nauseum and then just like wait, and we couldn't stop them then. But it was a great day. Rockside is great and busted, and I love the deck so much.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I was on Blue Farm for that tournament.
Briefly, how did it go for you?
Not good. Not good. Yeah, I took 3 draws in the first 3 rounds.
Started undefeated, yeah, it went great. And then in the 4th round, things fell apart. We got a loss to Atali in that round in a spot Serves you right for not playing Atali.
Serves me right for not playing Atali, yeah. And then I got a loss. I don't even remember what happened in the last round altogether. I just know that I didn't win it.
That's all that matters.
It was not a great day for Blue Farm in particular. Still had a lot of fun with these games. It was funny like how these draws ended up coming together and just like, 3 in a row? That's wild and crazy. As long as I get 2 wins, it's okay. And then
that's the case for the entire day. We were joking about that. Like, as long as I get 2 wins, I'm good at any point in the day. That's true.
At any point, yeah, exactly.
Basically, right? Are you keeping Blue Farm together?
For now, yeah, because all of the cards are in sleeve. leaves, and we're leaving for Vegas in less than 24 hours.
Nothing to do for the next week or so anyway.
But I want to start doing like a more of a rotating deck kind of thing where I'm just trying out a couple more decks instead of trying to land on one thing and stay on one thing. I know you've been talking a lot about how there's a lot that you get out of like trying to learn one deck and get to know everything about it. But
tricks.
I have not found that to be the case for me. I find that I'm the kind of guy that once it stops going well, I need to move off of it, or else it's gonna, or I gotta change something up, or else it's because something's not working. I feel like I'm running into a wall.
Can I say something?
Yeah, hit me.
Do you think that might be a recency bias thing, and maybe that it's okay to take L's and you should just like figure out how to?
Well. I do think that is something to think about, but I'm also thinking now that like Atali is like not in a great spot in the meta now either. I don't know that I've said this on the show yet, but I certainly have been saying this a lot in person. But like with the introduction of a lot more
the Ristic Study World,
free counter spells, what is lovingly called slop decks. You know, like even though the deck's name says no bad cards in it, they actually put a lot of bad cards for me to spin into.
The bad Atali cards.
Yeah, and I think that like your recent experiences on Atali where you flipped into 2 counterspells consistently
times in a row,
is actually pretty indicative of what the average Atali experience has been now. Whereas like before, you had a way better chance of flipping into like these awesome, incredible spells that are going to provide you like a ton of advantage. You still have that, but a lot of those like big over the top spells are getting replaced with things that are like a little bit more meta.
Disrupting Shoal.
Commandeer. I already control all these spells.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, right? A lot more like mana options too, which is great to have, but like if I don't have the ability to cast more of the spells in my hand, the extra mana is not entirely helpful. Sometimes I took a low mulligan to get Atali out. Other times I had to use Lion's Eye Diamond to get Atali out. Yeah,
Atali is also one of those decks that you can do everything right and hit bad variants on 4 cards, and it feels so awful. Like the other day, I was playing with patrons on a Discord day. It was a fucked up situation where there was like, what's the stack species you can play? It's a Rule of Law, but except for artifacts. Aether Throne Canonist.
Oh yeah.
There's an Aether Throne Canonist and a Vexing Bubble out all in the first turn cycle. So I was like, oh my god, what the fuck do I do against Vexing Bobble and Aether Throne Canonist? I was able to like finagle a situation. I felt like I did everything right. It was like turn 3, maybe 4, where I had like a Nature's Claim and another player had a Mind Break Trap. And I said, I'll Nature's Claim this if you Mind Break Trap that, but don't use a Mind Break Trap on me. And he says, okay. I get to my turn and like I felt like I did a pretty good job of like the Aether Throne Canonist was off the field because Dargo needed it off the field. Or maybe the Vexing Bobble, he got rid of it himself because he's like, all right, I'm just going to be able to win the game now. So I was able to use my thing on something else. We get back to me and I do everything. Everything's gone. He promised he's not going to use the Mind Break Trap. I do my flip and it's nothing. It's like birds of paradise, a Rite of Flame, and 2 duds, and I go, all right, I had 3 mana, that's it, fast turn, whatever. And I was like, I did everything right, and still my payoff is like nothing.
That's exactly how I felt at the last Convoke tournament too, right? You can do everything right in the deck, and then when you go to win the game, it's not like Ad Nauseam or Necropotence where you see 30 cards. I'm seeing 4 cards, and they better fucking do something.
Right, and this is the case with all Storm decks. There's a fail rate. That's why there's Storm decks. That's why we don't just play Thassa's Oracle, Demand Constellation. You do other stuff in the decks as well. I've whiffed on Rockside plenty. I've whiffed with other turbo decks. With Atali, it feels so anticlimactic because when it's just like 4 spells and they're bad, you go, what the fuck was I thinking this was gonna be? When it's like when it's 30 spells, you get to ponder and you go, oh, maybe I'm not seeing something here. Maybe you know what I mean? Like there's like so much more to it. You're doing it for a long time. So like it feels like there was still sort of like a climax or something.
Yeah, it's like, okay, great. I got the Orum's chant. That's one of the things I need, but there's nothing else to go along with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that means that Atali needs a little bit of reworking, or we've talked about this a little bit. Maybe you don't go quite as fast. Maybe you go a little bit bigger and you want more hits in your deck that are good hits.
My problem with that has been like, okay, well then like, how do we get to that point? How do we get to the point where we cast Atali, and then do we flip into the things that end up like buying us time? Like, I don't want to flip into Blood Moon anymore. I don't think that's the direction that we go.
You're not playing what's the Sundering, the MDFC that blows up a land?
Sundering Eruption? Is that the name of the card?
You're not playing that one, I don't think?
No, I'm not.
I think I kind of want to try some more of those types of cards in Atali's, that even though it's a hit against Treasonous Ogre, which does kind of stink, I just want like more options to hit something and do something. Like I feel like with red-green, you're kind of limited in what you're doing. So if you're able to at least like blow up the Guy's Cradle, you can go, maybe there's a better chance I'll untap and be able to try again. I don't know if that's a direction that's like worth considering.
I can see that. I'm also not on the fight spell either.
Right. Well, if you get rid of that thing, maybe you're in a okay spot.
It could be. I'm a little tight on my lands right now is the thing. A land that could sometimes blow up another land isn't exactly like, I don't know. I see where you're going with it.
You only need like 2 lands anyway.
I really only need 2 lands.
It bolts you, and if it doesn't, it does something.
I'm not concerned about the bolt thing in reality. I'm not concerned about the bolt thing. I think
if we're not concerned about the bolt thing, then why not?
I wouldn't want to cut a land for it, I don't think. I think
I'm concerned about it only making 1 color.
Yeah, because there's a lot of lands in the deck that make 3 colors between red, green, and colorless that I need for Eldrazi Confluence.
That's fair.
I would want to think about that a little bit more.
All of this, I think, is to say you are looking to experiment with some other decks, and I think you in particular work really well with a deck that you've never seen. You're able to figure out a deck. Maybe it's because you haven't been tainted with the bad experiences of the decks yet, so you just like are fully confident in it, or I don't know what it is.
I wonder what's gonna happen when I play this deck.
I don't care, so whatever. I feel like you do well with decks you've never played before, so I do support this strategy of you just trying out a whole bunch of things, especially if a tally feels a little bit weak right now, especially if you don't have another deck that you're like goo goo gaga for. I think this is a good path.
It might just be time for me to like sit back and try to find a deck to be goo goo gaga about, and then eventually once I am goo goo gaga about something, I can keep that together again.
Maybe Aang. You said Aang. Maybe like
I want to try Aang. Yeah,
lean real into like I want to play my commander, and then my commander does the thing.
It's still like an Atali, but I think it does better against the turbo meta than Atali actually, because of all of the rule of laws that it naturally plays too.
You get to play silences and counterspells. Do you play those cards?
Some of them, yeah. I would certainly play silence.
Play a couple maybe.
And Grand Abolisher and that kind of shit. I also realize that like there's probably times where like you get 2 Aangs and then one of them clones your Roaming Throne and then the other one clones your Aang, and then that way your next Aang gets you 3 Aangs, and like I feel like that deck probably spirals way more than we think that it does.
I think once you got 2 Roaming Thrones in play and a clone on the stack, I think your opponents should probably concede.
They should concede.
I think they're dead at that point.
Well, no, they shouldn't, because you want to have fun. You want to keep going. Yeah, so they should stick around and just see what happens.
I think that deck is kind of interesting. I'm curious to see where it goes.
That might be one that I try out too. I know you didn't really end up playing Rograk Thrasios. I know that's one that like I might end up playing too.
You should. The deck is cool. I don't think it's for me, even though I haven't played it a ton. For some reason, decks that just like durdle and don't do anything cool in the first few turns, I'm like less interested in them recently. At least I've been so turbo brain recently, so I don't know. Even though that deck does like you're playing Gaia's Cradle and you're making a bunch of mana, I feel like you like become a threat before you're ready to win sometimes, and I don't know.
People focusing on you pretty hard.
Yeah.
Whereas at least in Rogsai, like people focusing on you immediately because they should,
and you're prepared to handle the focus immediately.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
you're whereas like a lot of times, like you have to reveal your hand in Rog Fast because you go, oh no, all I'm doing is just making mana. I don't know, I can't really do much, and then your opponents go, that's your whole deck. Your whole deck is your whole point is to make mana. Yeah.
I think you would probably have a better time with the deck than I would a little bit. Even though we're both very turbo brain, I could definitely see you having fun with the deck for sure.
Yeah, I still like doing Thrasio shenanigans in general. Although those decks are off Seedborn Muse now, so
it's kind of strange, right? I think it makes sense a little bit. I don't know, it feels a little bit weird, but
if they already have such a target on their heads, could you imagine having Seedborn Muse and like nothing else going on, and then
the deck has also become so streamlined that I think a lot of the time, once you're able to like make 5 mana and cast an impactful spell, there's a good chance you can just like win the game. You know what I mean? Like you can just push for a win instead of just like giving your opponents like a ton of time to like look at you as a threat and try to fuck you up.
And I think I would rather just also try to get to know a lot of different decks' strengths and weaknesses too, instead of just playing against them all the time. I think just like try to know what they do so I can leverage my political position. I feel like for some reason I would rather be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
I feel like I did that for a long time. Both of us, I feel like, did for like the first like several years of Play to Win. That was like kind of where we like sat, was just like we want to learn all the cEDH decks so we know kind of how all of them work.
Because we kind of had to. I was getting into cEDH pretty early on in that, so.
But I think that's a good spot for you to be for now until you find another deck that you're goo goo gaga about.
Maybe I'll start brewing something too.
Oh, don't do
Taking
that.
like do like a long shot situation and like take something actually good, an interesting strategy, and then bring it to a tournament.
Do you have anything in mind that you want to kind of brew around?
No, and I don't want to talk about it on the show if I did. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, it's got to be a surprise.
Exactly. Otherwise, it kind of ruins the whole thing.
Yeah,
you're going to play that deck that you spent 45 minutes talking about on the show? Going through the ins and outs of every single combo and every single card in the deck so that everyone knows about it?
Another Urza situation.
Yeah, right. Another Urza situation. No, I don't need to do that. If Wolfie VGC doesn't need to do that.
Wait, what's the reference?
You know how Wolfie like builds teams and then doesn't tell you what his teams are before he plays it in a tournament?
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Do we have any cards that we want to talk about? What was the other thing on our podcast?
I always like having some cards that we can talk about here.
I got one in mind, but I don't know if you.
What's the one on your mind?
Misdirection.
Who's that?
She's a nice lady.
Oh, I thought you were talking about her father, Mr. Direction.
Oh, his name isn't Misdirection. I don't like that.
No, what, Mr. No, that's not what I said, though. I said Mr.
Action.
Action.
Never mind, this joke is not good.
Tell me about your experiences with Mr. Action recently.
The card's good. I had mentioned briefly earlier in a podcast that 5 mana is too much for my ad nauseum deck. I don't want to know if I want to play it. Played it in the tournament. I only saw it one time. I revealed it off of an ad nauseum. I went to 3, and I still won the game, and it didn't matter anyway. But it would have given me triple protection after the ad nauseum, so it's fine. It doesn't matter if you hit 1 5-drop as you're going through Naz, because you're still in the game, especially because Naz is kind of like, it's sort of like the plan C option at this point. It's like Necropotence, then Necro Dominance, weirdly, and then ad nauseum. The option of like hitting 1 extra 5-drop is not so good. Rather, it's not so likely. And also because there's so much Mystics and Ristics and all these other draw engines, I think it's just like good to have like extra piece of interaction. Misdirection is bad because it does 2 things not so well. It doesn't stop an opponent's win condition whatsoever, and it doesn't redirect abilities, which is a way to stop an opponent's
win condition. Yeah.
Win condition. But I don't care about that. I don't want to stop you at all. I want to do my thing because my thing is faster and better, and I just want to protect my thing. For Roxai, it is effectively a second copy of Force of Will.
It really should be called Mr. Protection.
Yeah, just exactly. It just like protects your own thing. It's another way to protect your win con, and I think I don't want to like, the more I talk about Roxai, the more Roxai does well, and the more I say that it's good, people are going to try to fuck me up because they know, oh, it's still playing Roxai. Everyone will looking for interaction.
You know, have you thought about playing Commandeer? Because I know you were saying that some lists are on Commandeer now, too.
Dexter's on Commandeer. 7-drop feels extra nuts to me.
But like, you would have won the game at 1 life in that scenario if you would have flipped it instead of the misdirection.
I used to play Peer into the Abyss in ad nauseum decks. Like
all the time.
The real reason I don't is when the highest drop in your deck is 5, there's an incentive for you to stop at 5. You know what I mean? But realistically, the incentive should just be like, don't stop until you have a win. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if you're at 3 or 4, keep going until you have a win. If you hit the rock, then you'll be able to win the game. So I could understand Commandeer for sure. I don't think I'm there just yet. I think having the 2 blue cards in Commandeer, that part feels kind of like a lot to me.
Even though you have 30 in your hands, you have 30 cards.
At that point, it's really good.
Okay, but yeah, like
before it's like, well, realistically, what I need most to protect is the Necropotence. I want to protect that, and like misdirection needing just 1 of the blue cards means that like I can protect land, dark ritual, misdirection blue card means that I can protect my Necropotence.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, I guess, more in like the soft push scenario where you get your turn 1 Necro, you can't win the game immediately, but then like it's in your hand as you go to pass or something, and then
it's great there.
It's great there, and then when you're ready to do your big push, it's always going to be turned on. Yeah. Even if you find it in your big push, then like it's always going to be ready to go for you then too.
I could see myself playing it.
I understand what you mean, was that there is a scenario where it's worse because of the 2 things, and like that could come up and mess you up.
Right now I'm playing Flashback as well. I just took out Demonic Council and Wheel of Misfortune, although I really didn't want to take out those 2 cards because I feel like I can't cut gas in the deck. Like I just need more stuff that does stuff.
But you need good gas.
I need good gas, and both of those cards suck.
They're methane.
Exactly. Even though Wheel of Misfortune I have talked about being a little bit better than I initially thought, it still does kind of suck. There's situations where it's just bad. Same with Demonic Council. I want to mitigate those situations where I have a bad card. I mulligan so aggressively with the deck. All the cards have to be hits all the time. They all have to do something really good that nothing else does. Flashback might be bad. I've only seen it and then lost the game right afterwards. It never was relevant for me so far.
So lost 100% of games that you've played with it.
Technically, yes. Technically, it didn't do anything. And if it were Commandeer, honestly, maybe it would have if it was Commandeer.
It might have done something more if it was Commandeer.
If it was Commandeer, it might have kept me alive. I'm not really sure on Commandeer yet, but Misdirection, very good.
That's sweet, yeah.
Specifically in Turbo. If you're going fast and you just want to protect your very quick win, Misdirection is great there. If you want to stop other people, if you're playing the control route, I could see it being a little bit worse, but I still think it's good. You want as much free interaction as possible if you're in these Ristic slop decks, and Misdirection is just another Force of Will sometimes.
I would still want it. Yeah, right? I would still want it. Just like another free thing to do.
Free is good.
Yeah, even like moving a Jessica's Will onto another target is still good.
It could still feel bad, but yes.
It could still feel bad, but like maybe you move it onto the Atali player that like, you know, has no cards in their hand, and now it's only a 3-mana like look at 3 cards or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, there's still going to be things that you can do in the Ristic slap decks with it, but I think it is stronger in the Turbo decks that are able to protect their really quick win with it.
So that's the card that I want to talk about right now. Do you have a list of other cards?
Yeah, I want to talk about Tax Collector actually, because this is a card that you briefly mentioned, and is a card that came up in a couple of decks recently. You played against it in the top 16 against a Selvala deck this tournament, and then I also have been seeing it in Brigid.
The card is good. I do want to say, in the specific instance that I saw it, it did lose us the game in a couple of ways, because it allowed the Roxai player who went before me was still able to cast Ad Nauseam because they were able to find 6 mana with the Steaming Spirit Guide. They weren't able to win the game on the spot though. They did have to pass a turn to me, and I went C2, and my plan was a Wheel of Fortune Cracking Lion's Eye Diamond, but I could not cast the Wheel of Fortune anymore, which would have been good against the Ad Nauseam. And then even funnier, I kind of joked with this player after this. The Tax Collector, he didn't end up attacking the Roxai player. We all forgot. I forgot to tell him, attack while you can. He didn't do that, and then the Roxai player won the game at 2 life. And I was like, you motherfucker! Which is like, it's not his fault. It is just as much my fault. I should be reminding you, attack the player who just ad nauseum, first short. You know what I mean? But it was just comical that like I feel like the card lost me the game in like multiple ways.
But there's a lot of scenarios where it won't do that, and
Absolutely.
it will win you the game. Yeah, it's 1 and a white for a 2/2, and when it enters, you can choose one of two things. You can either tax players by saying that until your next turn, spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast, or you can arrest something by detaining target creature and opponent controls.
Yeah,
go ahead, you always hit tax. That's always the one that you do.
Yeah, probably. I guess there could be a world. But yeah, I think the tax one is that you want it to buy you time. The reason why I think it's actually pretty good, better than a card like Dahlia, Guardian of Thraben, which would otherwise, like historically in Magic's past, like that would be the card for this. If you get rid of Dahlia, the effect goes away. If you get rid of Tax Collector, the effect is still there. It doesn't go away. Like it's a trigger lasting, I don't know what, it's an ability. It's a trigger, you know what I mean? So like if you get rid of the thing, the effect is still there. So it makes your opponent's spells cost 1 more, no matter what. If it resolves, that's what it does. There's no getting rid of it.
Exactly. It's no flashing Orcish Bowmaster, ping off your Thalia super easily.
Right. For a deck that wants to slow the game down, I think it's good.
Especially if you have a way to rebuy the ETB, it can be even nuttier. Like a lot of the decks that are on this card are also on Emil the Blessed. They can just blink it if they're at that point.
If you're at that point, you're in a good spot. But yeah, if you're blinking Tax Collector, especially if you do it multiple times, it would stack, right? So it would be like, well, now I blinked it 3 times, your things cost 3 more on your turn. Like that sucks, right?
Great. I'm defense grid on my own turn now? How is this possible?
I think the card is interesting and unique. Not a card that I'm going to put in a deck, but a card that I'll lose to many more times.
Yeah, we were talking last week about like these tempo decks in cEDH that they're trying to win after Rogsai and before Kinnan.
Yeah.
It's really nice for these tempo decks that need to buy that time. It does exactly what we were saying, where it slows down Rogsai to a point where they can't present a win, they can't Wheel of Fortune on that critical turn. And then if you are able to capitalize on that time and present your own win, it's the perfect setup card for you.
I agree with everything that you just said.
Especially because it also makes it harder for like the mid-range decks to get down their advantage pieces on those critical turns when they need to get those down too. So like not only is Rogsai not pushing, but there's no Rhystic Study in play from Kinnan, and they can't play a bunch of free rocks. And like Kinnan especially is set up so that they exactly have Kinnan on turn 1 or like a Mana Dork on turn 1, and they can play Kinnan on turn 2 and like 2 more rocks that are specifically set up so that they're tapping for each other perfectly.
Right.
If you interrupt their mana just like the tiniest little bit, they can't do that. That sets them behind 2 turns a lot of the time.
Especially because like the way that Kinnan works is like oftentimes I see them basically activating Kinnan on turn. Realistically, I think they prefer on turn 2, but I feel like commonly they're activating Kinnan once on turn 3 and then twice on turn 4. And then after that, it steamrolls. But if you're able to stop that first activation, then the second activation is for 1 instead of 2 more. So then by turn 4, rather than have activating 3 times and seeing 15 cards, they only activated 1 time and saw 5 cards. It slows the roll.
They're still rolling a snowball down the hill, but it stopped snowing years ago. So it's just a snowball down a deserty hill.
Right, yeah, because once they go and once they've hit like 3 activations, then the next turn they're hitting another 3 activations, and then it's like all of a sudden it's 6 when it could have been just 2 by that point had you stopped the first one, right?
But if now they need a turn to get Kinnan out and then they need another turn to set up their mana instead of the turn where they get Kinnan out and set up their mana, like that completely throws a stick in their bicycle.
Is it only opponents or is it you two?
No, it spells your opponent's cast.
So it doesn't stop yours also. So if you need to pop a silence to stop them because you think they can win through it somehow, you can still do that. You can
and
still
then on your turn, cloud shift it, so you get an even cheaper way to like make sure that people can't force to will you or something.
Sure. Yeah, something.
I guess it is also like a Grand Abolisher too. Like if you have enough mana and you just go on your turn, boom, it's now way harder to interact with me. Like here's a window that you didn't expect.
Especially with a deck like Sovala where you're specifically drawing your opponents a whole bunch of cards where, oops, they all tapped out. I can play this Tax Collector. Everything costs 1 more. They can't cast anything.
Even
basically.
if they have 1 mana, like okay, their Swan Song doesn't work. Now they can do like
they have one thing,
but then I can win around that. I have 1 billion mana.
A lot of blue decks are cutting the 1 mana counter spells. Flusterstorm is like the only one that really sees a ton of play. Technically, some turbo decks will play an offer.
I still like Swan Song because it hits enchantments. And I lose to enchantments a lot now.
I totally get that. I've cut Swan Song a lot, but I do see it sometimes. There's not that many more. Dispel doesn't really see any play. I haven't seen Spell Pierce in years. There's not that many 1 mana ones. Most of them are like free.
Interestingly, Dispel is one that I see more frequently in tournament list, actually.
I'm afraid of it. I think it's good.
Well, that's why. Yeah, I don't see
it
everywhere, but I see it more frequently than an offer you can't refuse in Swan Song in a lot of lists now, I think.
There's like no downside if you hit the thing. Yeah. You Swan Song my ad nauseum, and then, I have a bird that I can sacrifice to a Diabolic Intent.
Okay, here's 2 treasures. Try to win again.
Right, exactly. Whereas the Dispel, no, like just the 1 card advantage. You probably cast 2 or 3 spells to make the Nuz happen, and I've just spent my 1 Dispel, gave you nothing, and you're like kind of done now. Like,
and it's kind of like what we were talking about with Misdirection, where it's also really good at protecting your your protection as well, or like also, oh, you're trying to stop me from my winning. Well, here's just for 1 mana, boom, it's done. Your Force of Will's done.
Dispel was for some reason one of my favorite cards for a very long time. I recently have liked it a little bit less because
it's not a turbo card. I think it's a Ristic Slap card.
Yeah.
Is realistically what it is, but it's really good in Kinnons and Raw Gishais.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, like 5-6 years ago when we were getting into cEDH,
huge then.
It was huge then because the best win cons were without a doubt Ad Nauseam and Flash. Study, it wasn't quite as notorious. It was good, but it wasn't quite everywhere. Whereas now, with Necropotence and Necro Dominance being so prevalent, oh man, the fucking Dispel might not even stop the Necro, you know what I mean? It doesn't stop the Ristic Study, it doesn't stop the Underworld Breach, doesn't do any of that shit. But if it stops the best things in the format, Flash, then it's so fucking incredible.
Yeah, exactly. And it still doesn't stop Necropotence, right? I think it is supposed to be there as like a backup thing. It's not like Rogside where you need like just 1 or 2 pieces to protect your thing. Like you're having this in conjunction with 30 other cards. And now Atali's worse because I'm spinning into Dispel.
You can still Dispel the Dark Ritual, which you should always do against Rogside players. You know what I mean? Like if you can.
So there's always still like an option to try to stop the.
Just be aware.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any other cards?
I do have some more cards. Maybe? Yeah, we can go for a little bit more. Cubby's edited in this one.
Nice.
He put a lot of card images in already.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another card that I want to reevaluate.
Okay.
Redirect Lightning.
We originally thought maybe it's good.
I took it out of Atali. Like it wasn't Atali. And I don't know if it's just because of Hexing Squelcher. I don't know if like Hexing Squelcher makes the whole Vexing Bobble thing kind of like irrelevant in Atali anymore now. But I remember in the set review, I said I wanted to play Redirect Lightning for the ability to take like Otawara and move it to something that I want to remove, like Draenith Magistrate or a Vexing Bobble, right? I'm finding that, it's way better than that. It's just like, why don't I just make everything uncounterable and I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone that way?
Are you of the opinion that it's bad or it's good right now?
I think I'm thinking that it's bad.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking that it's bad, that even though it's a 1 mana Redirect Lightning, well, that's what it is, Cameron. We're talking about the card Redirect Lightning. Even though it's a 1 mana Deflecting Swat or just like a Bolt Bend that can always be 1 mana, there were probably more decks that could have played Bolt Bend that realistically didn't want Bolt Bend. So
I understand the desire to play it. 1 mana is just so much more than 0, which I know like doesn't need to be said, but right now I'm really only getting excited about free stuff. The free stuff is what I want. The 1 mana is good, but if you think about it, 1 mana means you have to wait a whole nother turn to win the game, realistically. If you could win the game on turn 1 or on turn 2 protected, I'm going for the turn 1.
Probably should, yeah.
Because on turn 2, they're going to have 2 pieces of interaction, and now my 1 piece doesn't cut it anymore.
Yeah, because in the deck that you're playing Redirect Lightning, I think you're trying to push. Like, I think it's kind of like a misdirection in that, like, you're trying to use it as backup for whatever you're trying to use to win the game. If you're in, like, a Rog Thras, like, I don't think that's a card that I would actively want. I think if I'm even in, like, blue-red and trying to heavily play into Ristic Study, I don't know, maybe I'm playing the Sonar deck that from Strixhaven or something. I don't know. I feel like I still don't want Redirect Lightning in that deck because there's so many good counterspell options that I have that if I want to hold up a mana, I'd rather hold up Dispel as my backup instead.
Yeah, I've seen it in a couple of RAL lists. I haven't played a ton of RAL yet. I haven't really actually played any games of RAL.
It's probably fine in RAL because like in response to anything that you do, you can hold priority and recast it and get another RAL trigger.
Right, but also like I feel like it's kind of bad in RAL because it doesn't actually do any, it doesn't push you forward in any way. You know what I mean? Like Deflecting Swat is good because it's free. Like, that's why it's good. That plays fucking 18 lands.
Get one Bowmaster trigger out of here?
I do think that it's probably fine in low color decks. I think I'm with you that overall, I'm not super excited to play it. If I'm playing that card, I'm going, oh, I'm in a not good deck. I'm playing probably bad deck, I think.
Things are, I have got a lot of other problems before, you know, Redirect Lightning is my main problem.
But so I think I'm much more interested in stuff like Misdirection and stuff like Commandeer and free stuff.
If I'm in Vivi, I might still like it or something like that. So I can understand these Storm decks that are in blue-red, but again, maybe I would be cautious about that still.
I got one more card. It's an old card.
Yeah,
real quick at the end. I think in a episode past, I had talked about wanting to maybe cut Yawgmoth's Will for flashback. Yawgmoth's Will is like the backup planet. Wrong. So that was wrong and stupid and bad.
Yeah.
Even though Yawgmoth's Will doesn't always win the game, and sometimes I hate the card, it is undoubtedly historically powerful and still very strong. It's able to win around Beseiju. It's able to win from ways that other cards can't. Yeah. Pulls so much more weight than flashback.
I'm glad that you cut Wheel of Misfortune instead.
Yeah, cut a bad card. You know what I mean? cut a bad card that's sometimes good rather than a good card that's sometimes bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Why not have 2 Underworld Breaches? Right. And one of them is definitely worse, but the logic is still applying with Necro Dominance.
Yeah, and honestly, the Yawgmoth's Will line, realistically, I'm probably just not seeing the Yawgmoth's lines when they're there and just instead going for a Breach line because it's easier.
For sure.
But maybe there's some situations where I should instead go for Yawgmoth's Will because the only thing I care about anymore is Beseiju. And if I'm playing right into the one thing that they have, what if I, instead of doing the Underworld Breach line, I went to the Yawgmoth's Will line, I was able to play around besages.
Or like
So,
Chain of Vapor. Like there's actually a couple of things that could remove an Underworld Breach. If you can get a non-creature spell to resolve, Yawgmoth's Will might be an easier way to get around certain scenarios of interaction.
especially if players are talking to each other because they're trying to stop you, where they go, I have nothing, I can't counter this. I have something when Breach hits play. And you go, oh, you have something when Breach hits play.
Oh, what if Breach never hits
What
play?
if Breach never hits play?
Yeah.
What if instead we go the direction, I tutor for
Yeah.
Yawgmoth's Will and we go that direction?
I think
right?
it's nice to, like, even in your mnemonic betrayal wins, still have a way where if Underworld Breach is gone, you now have access to all graveyards.
Yeah, not only your, I use it to get my graveyard too.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of still like having access to my own, because and there's some scenarios where your graveyard's just way better than what your opponents have too.
Yeah.
Glad you left mnemonic betrayal in, because there's some
Me too.
scenarios
You
where
got it.
like you got hit by some bullshit endurance or something, and then you have to rely on your opponents, or like wheels happened and now you have the advantage to do so.
Yeah, I think ROG specifically, like you have to play so many win conditions. When I say so many, you have to play like Thoracle, Underworld Breach, Praetor's Grasp, Mnemonic Betrayal, and the one game when they're all gone, once all four of those are gone, and the only options are like Ragavan and like Flare of Duplication, somebody else's thing,
Yeah.
like then that sucks. But it's unlikely that you're going to exile all four of those. You kind of like have to play them all. And Mnemonic Betrayal always sucks until it wins you the game. It only wins you the game, or it goes under Chromox. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it sucks. Oh my god, it's the only card in the world that could have got me out of the situation.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. It just wins you the game in the most spectacular, overprotected ways then too. It just has to be like the right scenario.
Just not
for
good
it
on
to
turn
do
1 or
so.
2. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
unless it goes under Chromox, and it's spectacular
It's great,
on turn 1.
Makes
Yeah.
black mana now, makes a blue mana next turn. Great.
It let me hold up my Dispel and Vampiric Tutor at the same time.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
That's so funny.
I think that's good. We talked about enough.
I think this was a good podcast.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
I am
Call it a
liking
cast.
the vibe of the podcast of these just, we're talking about the stuff that's on our mind, and it doesn't have to be a whole fucking themed
Rigmarole.
episode. I feel like when we talk about a CEDH idea, like how to be better at CEDH, nobody watches those
No one
episodes.
wants to learn from us.
No.
What the fuck do you
People
schmucks
know
know?
what we're good for.
All right, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. If you like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Mac the Mad, Seabass, Not Carrots, Bob the Skull, Davishar, Abyss AA, Peggy, E4 Cards and More, Red, Finks MTG, Wandering Around, Mike H, Tom Bieber, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Nathan Cohen, Mr. Derby, Okitayu, Penguin Man 0089, David Newman, Johnny Denver, Omelette, Rocky Hall, Pat Fire, Spengler, Larceny, Roy's, Your Boy Blue, Sparky B, S.A. Phillip, Only Groupie, Zach Hartley, Big Things Banjo, Reactive, Sean of the Ice, The Works 472, Garrett, Mace the Ace, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Demon of Rosgrease, Peter Stewart, Corner Wild, Uncle Butts, Luke Quadja, A. Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby G-Buzz.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thanks, Dragon Show, for supporting the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off.
Follow us on the internet for more content.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Max Hugh, E, Bub Russell, Devin Morrow, Ruby Supreme, Willow 2998, Turtle 99, Rick, Sharticus, Mix Masaucy, Max McCumber, Meta, Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Nefarious, Vietnam 69, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Poteheat, Jan Wild, Fang Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.